type of question is that, dude? My guy, how do I assess this season? We just lost. How do you think I assess this season? How do you think I assess it?
I don't know. That's what I was asking.
You tell me. Come on, dude. I mean, you could ask better questions than that. Let's go.
Team's been struggling. Did you find yourself regretting the situation more and more when?
Can you rephrase that question in a better way for me, please?
In a better way?
Yes.
Well, did you?
Are you asking me if I was regretting what happened because my team struggled?
Well, when you're not out there, you can't help.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you on the Astros sign stealing scandal and the resulting punishment?
Yeah, I wasn't going to be answering no Astros questions today.
All these years later, I am still cringing inside. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. Welcome to a special edition of Marty Time TV. I'm Marty Caswell. That is Darren Smith. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. There's a lot going on, and there's nothing going on. But the best part of this all is I get to reunite once again with my guy, D. Smith Show. Darren, how are you?
Marty, what's going on? Why are you cringing? Are you cringing because it's Tommy Pham who turns it right back around on you, or
Yes.
was it Carlos Quentin?
Yes.
And that moment, or just
Yes.
all of the cringeworthy moments that you've sat there and had a front row seat for?
Those are some of them. I'm just thinking that we haven't spoken to Manny Machado since that moment, right? There's like everyone's like, oh, hey, how could you ask that question? There's a time and a place. Yeah, the time and a place is going to be at FanFest. So I'm going to make sure that Jake Garriani, who asked that question from CBS, that when we address, all the players, assuming Manny Machado is made available, that he'll say to him, hey, Manny, now that you've had the offseason to reflect, how do you go ahead and assess your season? I can't wait for that moment to happen.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I said that at the time too. I was like, we don't know when we're going to get access to this guy again. So, I think it felt like it was the right question, and how he responded was up to him. Now, of course, that gets turned into a moment that gets picked up by Jim Rome and a lot of the national types, right? Yeah. So it became something I think that was a little bit different, but I thought it was all fair, and what are you supposed to do in that situation? How's life, Marty? Talk to us.
Life is interesting. I saw an email from the Padres that they're packing up the trucks at that very exciting moment where you can go out there Thursday and you can interview the clubhouse manager. You can get footage of these trucks leaving the Peoria. And I'm trying to figure out, am I going to make it out to Peoria to catch the players in time before they head out for the WBC? It's just a weird time right now. Like it's the a couple games left. We have championship weekend. College football is over, and then we turn the page and we jump into baseball. And I get those emails from SDFC, so I know that practices have begun as well. So I feel like we're really right now just kind of getting ready for this sports season to start. I'm good though. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Have we had the annual video of the Friar who is packing up the truck as it gets on the Thursday. 8 freeway headed east, right? Thursday. Yeah. Yeah. Usually the Friar's like the last person to throw the last bag of equipment into the back of the truck. So until that happens, it still feels like baseball's a little bit further away, but you are right. It's funny, as I was sitting here, as you and I were miscommunicating about what time we were actually going to get connected for this. You can tell that story if you'd like.
Okay.
I was sitting here reading over the schedule for SDFC as well, with scrimmages on Saturday and then again on next Wednesday. So trying to figure out a way that I can get into the facility maybe and watch some of the new players in action, since
very nice.
There's been a little bit of turnover as well. Yeah.
Yes. By the way, I want to get to SDFC. I definitely want to go ahead and get to some Padres because it's just been so quiet. It's been a really strange offseason for them. I do want to pick your brain on a couple of things, and I also want to ask you about your professional world. I know you've had changes in yours. I've had some small changes, like addition in mine. In addition to my work here on Marty Time TV, which I'm hoping and happy to continue during this baseball season, I also do some work now with the guys at Foul Territory TV. So, each team has its own little section, right? So here in San Diego, it's Friar Territory. So I've been working for the most part with Kyle Glazer. So that's been my world. I know you've had some stuff going on with 1904. I want to go ahead and get to that a little bit later. But Darren, I want to start right now asking you, I feel like the last time I talked to you, as far as an interview purpose, it was you and John when I was in Chicago, right? That was during the postseason?
Yep, that's right.
That was our last official Padres conversation. And since then, of course, we know what happened. Mike Schilt team being sold and AJ Preller still doesn't have an extension. I've asked people on different shows about this. Any insight from you as to why Preller doesn't have a deal yet? Or do you think he's just content to let it roll and maybe, oh, you don't want me? Fine, I'll go somewhere else.
I don't have any insight as to why he doesn't have a deal. I do think, though, that some of the stuff that's been said about, like it's business as usual, and this isn't the top priority right now, and it's it's something that is going to be so easy to get done that we're not so super stressed about this. I think that sounds like a bunch of nonsense to me. It sounds like a bunch of spin. I don't know what it's like to sign as the president of baseball operations with a Major League Baseball team, especially a Major League Baseball team in this kind of situation. But I do know what it's like to sign a multi-year contract, and it is not this hard. And you know what it is like as well. And obviously, I'm not trying to compare my own individual situation as a radio host to A. Preller, but if you wanted to get it done, you would get it done. If it was just a matter of, well, okay, we have these other priorities and we got to figure out what's going to happen in arbitration, and we have to make decisions about this guy or that guy or qualifying offers. There's been plenty of time. There's been plenty of time that, if in fact it was as close as was suggested publicly and privately, that it could have been done by now. So I don't know why it hasn't been. Maybe it's much ado about nothing. Maybe it's just done and it hasn't been signed. I suppose that's certainly possible. But in terms of this being one of the questions that a lot of people had going into the offseason, you would think that if you wanted to, to put people's minds at ease who were concerned about such things like this, that you could have done it, and they haven't. So, whether it's been Eric Grupner on the flagship radio station or anything else that's been said or reported, it is curious. It is curious that it is January 20th and they are packing up the trucks to go to spring training, and this general manager does not have any sort of public clarity about what his future is. And, listen, if he wants to go into the final year of his contract and wait and see what's going to happen with ownership or whatever, I think there's lots of plausible things that can be said, but, don't tell us that it's close and it's going to happen, because it feels like there's been ample opportunity and ample time that it could have been done. There hasn't been that many things checked off the to-do list. AJ Preller went into Jay Paris's happy hour. You know what I mean? So, it's not like he's been so busy grinding and scouting and doing all these things that you couldn't take a couple of hours. Obviously there's some sort of hold up on it. What it is, I don't know. But it seems pretty clear. I mean, that's just the only logical conclusion that anybody could come to right now.
Right. At early on, he had the excuse, he was looking for a manager. Then they had to go ahead and figure out that coaching staff. And I get it, the whole interview process. You need to get your 10th manager right? So that was part of it. But now it's like, dude, spring training is in a couple of weeks. A fan fest is what? Fan fest is like in a week and a half. So assuming if AJ is there, those questions are going to keep coming until something happens. So who knows? Do you think perhaps Preller is concerned that the team could be relocated?
Relocated? I don't think that's a big concern for him.
I'm joking. I know.
Yeah. I think though, listen, there was some things that I know that I had said that got a little traction about him trying to figure out what his own future was with this organization. And maybe, this is part of that. Maybe, maybe it's just an awkward time in Major League Baseball with the team being for sale.
Right.
I have no doubt in my mind that AJ Preller loves San Diego and his preference would be to be in San Diego. I have very little doubt about that. I think he's certainly connected to the fan base. I think he wants to finish what it is that he started, even though it's a much different looking project than what it was just even from a couple of years ago. So, I do think that those are things that are real for Preller. But, the uncertainty about the sport as a whole, about the organization and its ownership, I think, and what this dynamic looks like. I think I was on with you here, many places where we talked a little bit about what Peter Seidler's vision was and how he had, these different departments and they were separated from one another. That was a real thing. That was a real thing. Like baseball operations was here, business was here, conduit in the middle was Peter. Is that what it looks like moving forward? I'm not so sure. So maybe he's not sure. Again, it feels it has felt for some time like there's more to it than what appears to be on the surface. And maybe it works out and they put an offer in front of him that he just goes, hey, yeah, to hell with it. Like, let me sign here and like life's pretty good and I get to stay in San Diego and you know, I love it here and I've got a life here now and all sorts of things happening. So you know, I think that is certainly a possibility, but you know, it's impossible to sit here and say that it doesn't feel like it's something that has not happened yet, and there must be some reason for that.
I know I asked Craig Stammen at his presser, as well as Michael King at his extension presser, about the direction of this team and what do you know about AJ Preller, and both seem to indicate that their understanding was that Preller was going to happen. So again, the message from everyone else, the coaching staff, people that do talk of the record, has been the same. Yet it's January 20th and nothing has happened. Okay, Darren, I was kind of tongue in cheek. I was joking. Just so you guys know out there, I know how the Twitter can get people on threads, get all riled up very easily when I talked about the Padres relocating. Now, I know there was an article from Barry Bloom, formerly of MLB.com. I think it was now was Fortico or Forbes. I did not. Forbes. Okay, I'm gonna be transparent on something. All right. There are certain times where I see something where the headline is so stupid that I don't bother to actually read it. That was one of them because I know better. So please go ahead and take our viewers and listeners through what that piece was about.
Well, and this is so it's the 20th. So this story is, I think, a little bit more than a week old. I think it came out sometime last week. Now I was traveling, so I missed a lot of the reaction to it. I'm guessing that most local media had the same sort of reaction, Marty, that you did, which is to say this is an absurd concept. The Padres are going to move out of San Diego. This is ridiculous, and I'm not going to give this the time of day. And I think you're right. I mean, I think it comes across as kind of clickbaity. Is that the word? Clickbaity?
Yeah.
And that's what he was mostly accused of. This is clickbait. How could you write something like this? The Padres, what are you talking about? And for the most part, I agree. Like, that's probably the right reaction. But, you know, I think a couple things stood out to me. And it's Forbes magazine, right? Like, this isn't respectfully towards any other outlet. This is Forbes,
right?
You know, and it's Barry Bloom. What is Barry Bloom being serious here, what is Barry Bloom, Marty, most known for? What is his connection? His connection, for those that might not know, is, you know, he is known as somebody who has direct access to former Padres owner John Morris, correct?
Yeah.
Like, to the point where I mean, people might have been speaking literally about this. I'm not sure. Where he's been referred to as John Moore's PR person, right? And maybe he worked for the Padres. Did he? I don't remember.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. He's been around a long time, a very long time.
Been around a long time. Okay. And you know, this isn't me suggesting that, again, that there's validity. I don't think the angle is that the Padres could be on the move. But just to set everybody up for what I'll say and what I'll point out, and I think that you and I would be interested in, is he is known very much to have access to John Morris. So, you know, he's reported a lot about Morris when Morris was going for Petco Park, when Morris took over ownership. You know, he's been around for a long time, and he can get John Morris on the telephone. I don't know how many people can do that. I can't do that. Can you? No, so I mean, I don't know how many people can get a direct line to John Morris. And like, what's interesting about the story that he wrote is the headline, what Joe Lakeup's interest in the Padres means for the team's future. And just scrolling through this real quick, he talks to John Morris for this story, which is what I find interesting about it. Not the concept that they're going to leave, because like most people, I think that that's ridiculous.
Right.
But he even says in an exclusive interview with John Morris, and he has all sorts of details about the lease at Petco Park, Marty. I don't know if you went through all of this or if you just dismissed it like a lot of people did. I think, you know, people are right to say clickbait, dismiss this garbage, former writer looking for some attention, whatever. But, you know, he's got all these interesting details that maybe I once upon a time knew and have forgotten about. But he's talking about refinancing and the bonds and all this other sort of stuff. And he talks about, I mean, this is a quote from the story, the line from Barry Bloom: the debt and annual operating losses, which have long been in the double-digit millions, according to John Moores, is the reason that the Padres are for sale. Like, and that just gives it a level of validity, I think, that is slightly higher than just dismiss this because it's clickbait.
Okay.
He even has a quote from Moores in here, which is bizarre because he was, Barry Bloom writes, it's all a long shot. And Moores says, quote, "It would break my heart," he said this week in an exclusive telephone interview, which sort of suggests it's like a greater than 0% chance. Now, maybe John Moores is bored and sitting around his home in Austin, Texas, and he's got nothing better to do than answer the phone and say things like this. I don't think so, though. You and I have unique experience with John Moores professionally. For people that do not know, like, he used to own the Mighty 1090. I don't think he really knew that, but JMI, the company John Moores Inc., like, they own. I don't think he does any of this just randomly because he's trying to help Barry Bloom out. And I'm not again suggesting that he's giving validity to the idea that the Padres could relocate. But it feels very much like there's an agenda here that I can't quite put my finger on.
There's a second story coming with this. Now, real quick.
Is it just anti-Joe Lakeup for some reason? Do they not like Joe Lakeup for some reason? And they want to label Lakeup as the guy who could be the relocation boogeyman? Like, I just, again, a friend of mine said I have galaxy brain on this story. Maybe. But it just, there's something bizarre about John Moores contributing to this story that stands out to me. And I think that's the angle, not the angle like, oh, no, they could move. Just the angle that Moores is contributing to this story, which feels like it's for whatever reason trying to paint Joe Lakeup a certain way. And I don't know what they're going for there, but Marty, I suspect that none of this is just accidental.
Yes, and now you've done such.
Does that make sense, or do I sound like a ridiculous conspiracy theorist?
Well, a little bit, but nothing is by accident. That's not a coincidental.
Right.
Let me get this guy on the phone.
Right.
Just because I can. There's like something else there.
What are they doing here? I like Brian Windhorst. Why would he do that? Right? Like, why is John Moores, the former owner of the Padres, who knows the details about this lease better than anybody? I didn't know any of these details. Why is he lending his name and a quote to this? That's maybe it's nothing. Maybe Morris is truly just bored and hey, Barry, thanks for calling. All right, let me help you out. But I don't know. I don't feel like John Morris really operates that way.
Maybe he wants to buy the team again. Joking.
Well, why? I mean, we've seen suggestions made that Jeff Morad should buy this fucking team. Pardon my language. But if we've seen suggestions that Jeff Morad can, all of a sudden now. And by the way, the story got picked up by other places because I saw it aggregated in other places. Like, oh, whoa, Joe Lakeup might want to move a team to the Bay Area. And all of a sudden, Joe Lakeup, for people who don't follow it that closely, has a little bit of he has a little a little substance to him here. Like, it's not about like anybody could do this. There's a couple references like that, but it is Lakeup. The story, the headline in Forbes magazine is about Joe Lakeup. So like he's being painted as some sort of boogeyman for whatever reason. And I don't know why.
Was there any follow-up or any comments refuted by either someone in the Padres organization, a spokesperson, ownership?
Padres did not comment for the story.
Okay.
But John Moores did.
Of course he did.
And again, he had, there's some interesting things that were said here that were not exactly public knowledge. Especially when Morris is talking about why the team is for sale. Like we haven't heard that from anybody else. That the debt and annual operating losses, which have long been in the double-digit millions, according to Morris, is the reason that the Padres are for sale. Have you heard that anywhere else?
I haven't heard it like that anywhere else, but I've heard it. I mean, even before that news broke about the sale, right? That they're exploring a sale. People you talk to in baseball said that they are really in the deep, but that I've heard that a lot, and it's there's more to it. There's more to it. I don't think it's just, but the lawsuit, from Sheila and the different siblings, but I do think there's a lot more.
Yeah. Again, I do not think the team is not a chance. Is it moving? But I don't think that's the story there. I think that the story is, well, what is going on here?
The story is the debt.
Yeah, and the story is why is John
What's the
Morris
motivation
out here opining about this?
What's the motivation between
what are they trying to do here? Because Morris is still involved. I mean, he's still involved at San Diego State. He's still involved with Snapdragon Stadium. He's still involved with a lot of things around town. So again, it's not like you just woke this guy up from some summer hibernation, where he's like, I don't know, whatever. It's been a minute since I've been quoted. It's not who he is. So
who called who first?
Great question, Marty. Don't know the answer.
Okay.
Again, like Barry Bloom has been referred to as sort of a PR person for Morris.
By the way,
nobody has done more reporting on John Morris than Barry.
No,
Bloom.
I know. When you said what is Barry Bloom known for in San Diego, I thought you were going to refer the back and forth with Tatis when he, pretty much wrote him off as a terrible prospect.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, maybe it's galaxy brain. I don't know. It's been a minute since I've had to come up with these angles, but that would be my angle. And if that was somebody else's angle, then I apologize. I didn't listen to every minute of every other show. I just saw that most people were dismissive of this and thought that's stupid, that's ridiculous. And it is. But what else is going on over there? What's going on?
Any names you're hearing on who might be interested in this team?
No. Yeah, I mean, just the usual names that get tossed out there. Nothing concrete, nothing that anybody else hasn't suggested, from Joe Lakeup to, I think
Joseph
our former
Tsai.
colleague obviously is putting the,
Who? Never mind.
Scott is putting the Qualcomm guys out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Why am I drawing a blank on their names? Jacobs, the Jacobs family.
Yep.
That's like Scott's go-to, Cap's go-to every single time.
Usual suspects: Joseph Tsai, the Qualcomm Bros. Okay, got it.
Yeah, Qualcomm Bro. Joe Tsai, I don't know. Joe Tsai, I mean, is Joe Tsai a good owner? I don't think he is. Have you seen the Brooklyn Nets? They're not good. It's not good. It's not great. So I don't know. I don't think that would be something that would be exciting to me. But when this thing gets sold, also is very interesting because of what's happening with the sport and the labor and the CBA and what's going to happen after the season. And is there going to be a salary cap? Because if there's a salary cap, then franchise values are going to look a little bit different.
I wonder if it's going to be a huge pause. It's just going to be it's going to pause until after there's an agreement.
Seems that way. It does. But no, I've not heard. I don't have any insider information. These are not spaces that I operate in on the multi-billion-dollar ownership level. But I'm sure it'll be some names that we know, and I'm sure it'll be some names that we don't, that we'll learn along the way as well.
Okay. Normally I would spend a lot more time on the Padres because I think there's more to go ahead and discuss. But because for whatever reason, I sent Darren, we were going to have the show starting at 7:00, right? And I'm like, I sent Darren all these messages. Where are you? Where are you? For whatever reason, he's not getting any of my text messages. So I sat here steaming, stewing, just ready to throw a fit for 45 minutes until I decided to do something unique. Pick up the phone and call Darren and see what's going on. So Darren was waiting for me. I was waiting for him. We apologize for our delay. So we're delayed, Darren. I know it's your bedtime coming up soon, but I want to get on a couple other things, all right? SDFC, spectacular inaugural season. We know that. I bugged you all season to get my nephew August a Chucky Lozano jersey because he loved Lozano. Then he changed his loyalties to Anders Dreyer, but now no more Lozano. What happened with that relationship?
Yeah, this is why I kept saying, why don't you wait a little while? Or maybe you should buy the number 10. Don't buy the number 11. Yeah. That was the insider scoop there. Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. I think it's really disappointing. I think it's put a lot of people in the middle, especially fans, people that were drawn to the team because of Chucky Lozano. Not many people would get, 8,000 people or whatever it was to the Rady Shell for an introduction. Not many people would do that. I don't think anybody else on this roster would have even come close to that. But it's one of those, Marty, where I was asked the other day, well, what happened? What happened here exactly? And I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened. And part of that is because I choose not to ask. I didn't want to know. As somebody who works for the team, as somebody who's on their broadcast, and as somebody who's also hosting an independent podcast,
Mhm.
I didn't want to be put in a situation where I knew something and held it back. Little things happen, extensions, that sort of stuff. Maybe they'd give us a heads up on that because of our role as team broadcasters.
Right.
But, and then you think back and you think about some of the little comments that were said along the way. I would say, I don't think it was just about what happened when he got subbed off against Houston. I think that was just the tipping point. And, I think maybe it was, not a great fit from the jump. And he was an important figure in this club's history. There's no doubt about that. He was the face of the whole marketing campaign. Let's be honest. And, did that mean that it was a great fit in terms of style? Mike Ivada said this last week. He said it wasn't a good holistic fit, meaning just everything about it didn't quite work. It was underwhelming, I thought, on the field. I thought it would get better if there was a season number 2 for sure. Some of that was health related. He missed a bunch of games. But in terms of the production, it was less. 9 goals, 7 of them in open play, so 2 of them were for penalty kicks. I think a couple things. I don't think it was just about being subbed off and the reaction, which he's talked about, which he admitted that he had a bad reaction to being subbed off in that game in October against Houston. So, that's not anything I'm sharing here that hasn't already been publicly discussed. I think that was just sort of like, all right, this isn't working. Like this just, it's just not happening. And, I think from there, they probably had it in their minds that, maybe this was in everybody's best interest to just go in separate directions. So, it happens. Sometimes guys just aren't good fits for whatever reason. And nobody's saying he's not a good player. Again, even with an underwhelming season, which I thought, okay, this could get better in season number 2. But, I think you just thinking back, you think about like a little comment here, a little comment there, nothing that you would ever go with publicly. You've heard a million little comments in your life about a player, about a coach. And sometimes it's just somebody's opinion because they had a moment with a guy, right? And it's like, not a big deal. But, you think back, you're like, I wonder if all those little things kind of added up by the end of the year. And then he had that reaction and they just decided, listen, it's not in his best interest to be here. It's not in our best interest to have him. He's a really expensive player. They wanted to sign other players and if you want to sign, they just signed Anders Dreyer, right, to this extension. And if you were
Right.
Anders Dreyer agent, you would look and be like, how much you paying that guy over there? Right? Like, that's a good starting point for me. I know we're not as marketable as him, certainly not given the demographics of where we are in the United States. But, if you were his agent, of course you'd be like, hey, that looks good over there. So, I just think it was better to recognize probably wasn't going to get a lot better. So why don't we just move on? And why don't we just figure out if there's, a solution here that makes sense to everybody? And we're not there yet. Now it seems like it's this standoff and, you do have timelines here where he's got to get going quickly or, what's going to happen with this contract. So, I hope there's an amicable solution where nobody's just taking a flamethrower to the other side. Maybe wishful thinking at this point, but in terms of just being around the team a little bit, I think that they have all. I was around them last week, Marty, and they all sound mentally like they have moved on. They have moved on from him, and what that means in terms of their success on the field is anybody's guess. But you certainly wouldn't know that these guys were staring down the barrel of like missing somebody who they felt like they couldn't have success without.
His face was all over like billboards,
everywhere,
buses, raps,
everywhere. I just got back from Peru, and
Manny had that welcome video that he shot in Coronado when he signed. So
yeah, I just got back from Peru, and I was talking with a guy that I met who's from Brazil, and he's like, "Who's your most recognizable player?" And I said, "Chucky Lozano." And he's like, oh, Chucky Lozano. He played at PSV, he played at Napoli. I know that guy. I know,
Wow.
And I don't know that he would have done that with anybody else on a roster. So, it's a big deal. Like, and again, like his contributions, I'm just talking about goals, but like his contributions to this club, nobody else could have done that. You know what I mean? Like nobody else could have been Chucky Lozano in terms of bringing the popularity in season number 1. Are they ready to stand on their own without him? I guess we'll find out.
Okay. In the best interest of time, Darren, I do want to go ahead and get now next to you, because after traditional radio ended really for both of us, you took some time off. I'm sure you went on a cruise somewhere, you went on vacation, and then you launched 1904 with our former coworker or colleague John Gennaro, and then you guys sent out a very lengthy email, a post before you went on your vacation. What are you willing to share about what happened to that idea, and also what's next?
What am I willing to share? Yeah, I mean, we've tried to be pretty honest. What I would start with, like the big umbrella, is starting a business is not easy. It's hard.
Yeah.
Whether that's some of the stuff that you have to do to file with the state of California as a limited liability corporation, whether it's some of the tax stuff. And I would say that we probably were not prepared or very savvy business people. I think that would be like an overarching way of identifying the most important aspect of what happened and why we ended up saying we're not going to move forward together. I'm not ready to say that Section 1904 is dead and dusted, but it's in the intensive care, that's for sure. And there's going to be a lot of thought given to what it is that's going to be next, if there's going to be something next. Thankfully for me, I do have SDFC broadcast to look forward to. So, that gives me something. That gives me something to look forward to, which was a big part of what it was that I did in 2025. And I really am thankful to have that opportunity. And I'm glad to be back for a second season.
Good.
But it's hard. It's really, really hard. And, I think I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks thinking about, things that I could have done differently. I think, there's like it was really, man, the timing really killed me. But, I wish we could have avoided some of the, how can I put this? I wish we could have figured out a better pathway forward.
Okay.
And, I just think that we had philosophical differences that were not going to get solved. So just the same way that we were talking about Chucky and SDFC, sometimes the best thing to do if you have a hand that you don't feel like is a winning hand is to dump it. And, like we were close. Like I felt like we were on the verge of something. We did a lot of shows, man. I mean, we did shows every day for 8 months. Like we never skipped any days. Like that was part of building our routine and building our rhythm. And, thinking that there was going to be a moment where we turned a corner. And I felt like we were really close on that. But ultimately at the end, Marty, it just was, the differences were just too much. And, we wish each other well. And as for me, I don't know. I mean, I think whatever the next thing is, I'm going to have to really think through carefully, because if I go back to doing something, I want to make sure that it's something that I'm not going to repeat the same mistakes.
Right.
And, I do not want to ask people to be a part of something unless I'm very, very clear about what that next something is going to be, and that I'm not going to end up in a similar situation that we just ended up in, because I do feel bad for the community that we were creating. I think that's the worst part. But and I do, like, I feel like there's space for independent media. I believe in it. I believe in it strongly. I do not take, our ending to mean that it can't work, because I believe that it was going to work. It just was, we probably just allowed some things to hang around way longer than they probably should have. And, then once we realized that we couldn't overcome some of these situations, it was just, it was a really, really tough place to be in. But I mean, again, like the support that we got and where we were going and like some of the interest that we were getting, it was real. Like it was real stuff, and it makes me bullish that it can happen, that it will happen. But, I'm going to be pretty deliberate here in, even finding like platforms. What are the right platforms to put stuff and content? And what's the content? And what I'm going to be pretty deliberate about that. I don't want to just be throwing things against the wall for the rest of my life and have people say, listen, this dude got to get his act together. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So that will be next. But, I did appreciate it. And again, I do believe that there is a space for it. And somebody's going to figure it out, whether it's me or you or somebody else. Somebody will figure that out. I do believe that
it might
somebody's going to make that happen.
You should not give up on it. I hope that you can't take, in my opinion, no one can take too much time off in this business. You just can't, because it moves quickly. But I think you're onto something. I think that one thing that you guys did show, even in a short period of time, is that people want quality, and there is room for a lot of quality in this market. I'm sorry, there just is. I mean, you got to know your audience.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the kind of thing that I want to do.
So go to bed right now.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to be back, and I would, I probably could be back.
Yep.
Doing something different. But
I know.
I believe in this, and like, gosh, like that people believed in what we were doing was the toughest part about saying that we have to take a break from this and see whatever else it is that's happening. So
yeah.
But that's that.
Here's a message from Night Doctor videos. I hope the Padres new owner cleans house, and I think Lozano didn't fit the team's plan, passing the ball and possession. Lozano was more of individual player, in my opinion. Any merit to that second part? And by the way, on the first comment, the whenever that new owner comes in, good luck, given some of the contracts that are immovable. And and you'll see who knows what's going to happen with Preller and Stammen and whatever is left of this staff by then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when does this even happen? Like I said,
Right.
I mean, when is the best time to buy a franchise? Do these people have to do it? Do these people, are they in a situation where financially they have to get this thing going sooner rather than later? I do not have the answer to that. I mean, I think the second part of that is, it's every once in a while you do want a player. Sometimes, the game situation dictates that you do need somebody who can be an individual, who can go over and who can do something really special, because sometimes the flow of the game and the plan and all that, like the game strategy isn't working. So every once in a while you do need a brilliant individual performance from somebody. Anders has taken some crazy shots and he's converted them. Chuki's taken a couple, but I think sometimes maybe those were, those individual moments, the decision making, I think was, it was not exactly what it was that they were going for. But, again, every once in a while, you do want somebody to take some risks and do some things. Not every, these guys don't have to be robots out there. That's the way the modern game is sort of played these days. But maybe it was a little too much. Maybe it was a little too much and too much individuality and not enough, fitting in with the structure of what it is and the system that they like to play. So I think that's a good point there.
Okay, real quick. Two more things that I want to hit before we wrap things up and bedtime. Have you seen what's happening? The California Post, new newspaper. It's like the West Coast version of the New York Post coming. I've seen like a lot of
I saw Dylan Hernandez went there.
Dylan Hernandez, Jack Harris. So it's remarkable. The LA Times, right, which to me was one of my favorite papers when it came to sports journalism. Like half they had like 3 job openings. Like Dylan Hernandez is gone, Dodgers columnist, bilingual, fantastic. Jack Harris, trilingual. Ben Bolch, who covered, I think he college hoops, basketball,
right?
Yeah, everything. And he's gone too. Let's see who else. Vinny Bonsignor, who was covering, was it the 49ers and the Raiders, right? So he's gone. So there's a new sports journalism coming to the West Coast. I'm curious whether or not that the San Diego market will merit anyone. Like, does it matter here? Is there enough happening for them to hire someone to cover? They have 2 people that they have hired to cover just the Dodgers, which I understand, right? Dylan can have the Ohtani angle, then you have your regular Dodgers supporter. But I am curious as to whether or not the Padres are big enough in Southern California for the California Post to hire someone dedicated to cover just them. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis hasn't written anything recently. What's going on there?
Oh, really?
Has he not? I mean, I'm planning to.
There's nothing happening. I think he wrote something like last week, like big questions regarding.
Things up like the rest of them.
Yeah, but there's nothing happening. So when I said today, hey, there's a lot going on and there's nothing going on, both are true. A lot's going on that there's nothing happening with AJ Preller, and it's spring training in a couple of weeks, and they haven't traded anybody. I know AC wrote back in December, November that something so big it could rival the Juan
So
Soto
massive.
trade. And right now I just okay.
Yeah, Dennis has had one byline. Okay, so it's about Buddy Black and Will Myers coming back. Yeah, I know. I mean, the AC thing was hilarious. Like, this is a deal so big. Like AJ Preller and his staff, like it's Oppenheimer. They're gonna have to go rent out a house in New Mexico because this deal is so big. It's so massive. You can't even have anybody around it. Yeah.
And then he disappeared. I know. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting time. It feels like the most important Padre stuff is like hypotheticals about franchises moving and Mike Schilt talking to the Washington Post.
It's what the players, it's what fans want.
Yeah, and I mean,
nothing
poor Craig
engages the fan
Stammen,
base.
here he is.
Craig
Stammen doesn't have a complete roster. He's got to play in spring training with a roster full of players that are going to go play in other places for the World Baseball Classic. He seems like the kind of guy where there's going to be a lot of eyes on him. And like, does he really want a bunch of eyes on him? I don't know. It doesn't strike me as the kind of person who enjoys that, but maybe I'm wrong.
Last thing, D. Smith, and I thought you're the right person to ask about this because when it came to people in town who knew this man, number 35, Randy Jones, you knew him as well, if not better than just about anybody, years and years and years as your partner on the Padres BP show. And those BP shows, man, were 3 hours, 6 hours every single day. You and Randy, man, a lot of time together. Just your thoughts on what he meant to you personally and professionally as the Padres prepare to honor him this Saturday at Echo Park.
Yeah, a lot. And I feel like I really owe Randy significant Randy played a significant role in my success. Whatever success, however it is that you want to measure success, I think Randy and Tim and that BP show was a big part of it. And I think at least in the way I analyze my own career, I think doing that show is the best thing that I ever did, even though I had people suggesting, nah, you shouldn't be doing a baseball show. I got more out of doing that, working with Randy and Tim than I ever did with, Philly Billy, respectfully, or anybody else. Because at the time, Marty, I had to deal with something that you did not have to deal with, which is that I'm not from here. I wasn't born here. I wasn't raised here. And, I don't have a lot of memories of what it was like going to Jack Murphy Stadium as a kid. And I think rightfully people were skeptical and like, hey, who is this guy? Why is this guy on the radio? Right? Like, what's he all about? I would have felt that way. So totally fair play. Like I would have probably said the same thing. Who is this guy? Who is this interloper? What's he doing on my radio? And it really wasn't. And even with Philly Billy, then it was 2 transplants, right? So there was always that. But when I did the show with Tim and Randy, it was totally like it changed everything. Because when those guys and I was just a sponge for them, listening to them talk about the history of the Padres organization dating back to 1973. Remember, Randy's career was 1973 till 1983. Flannery came in, when he came in and all the way up until pretty much 98, right, as a player. So I got to work with these 2 guys who represented essentially like a 25-year block of the Padres. And I got to be around these guys every day. And when those guys, Marty, and yourself included as a native, when those guys said like, this dude's okay, Like this guy's all right with us. Like we did hit, like it changed everything for me. And he didn't have to. He didn't have to be like, who is this dickhead? What is this guy all about? But him and Flan never did that. And it was the most fun I ever had, and it was the best radio. And all of us, the three of us, and you, and Dave Marcus, like I just don't know that it was ever more fun than that. Like the show of hope and 3 Up and 3 Down and all the
nothing better
did.
than 3 Up, 3 Down.
And like we just loved doing it, and people loved the show, and people loved watching the show, and people loved coming to the show. And again, like for me personally, what those guys did could not have been done by almost anybody else. I mean, how lucky was I to get the opportunity to work again with these two people who represented this significant portion of the Padres from 1973 all the way up until 98, 99 when Flannery ends up getting fired. And it was just Randy was just, he lit up every room, and he was just such a secret, like funny, positive energy. We'd show up and we'd be like, God, we don't want to do this radio show. This team sucks. And like, he would always want to do it. And like, he would always lift your spirits, and he'd always have a wisecrack to make you laugh a bit. And, I'm sad. I mean, I'm glad that we all had the opportunity to get to know him as well as we did. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not, I don't just say it. I mean, I really believe that. I really feel like that show changed my life. I don't know. I don't know what it would have been without those two guys, and that show in particular, and you and them just being okay to say, like, this is our guy. Like, we're comfortable here. We found a good thing. Like, we're a team. It's just us. And I miss him, and I'm looking forward to laughing on Saturday a little bit at the celebration of life at Peckham Park. So I know that's what he would want, but just so many great stories. I mean, he was the first star that the team had. He was the first, and like Willie McCovey played here, and Nate Colbert and some of these other dudes, but he was the first star that the Padres had. And like first one on the cover of Sports Illustrated, like first major award winner. Even Vin Scully, remember, said it on the BP show once. He's nobody in the Dodgers cared about them until they had a star. And that star was Randy Jones. And that was meaningful. So, I just think we're all lucky to have, first guy I ever met who had a Sharpie, like walked around with the Sharpie, because everybody had his autograph. Like everybody everywhere had his autograph. I'm probably only within like 10 feet away from an autograph of Randy Jones someplace. So, just as beloved as it got. And I loved hearing the stories, and it was a real pleasure. He was a delightful human being to be around.
Gonna miss that laugh. And seeing him at spring training and those tight jeans and those cowboy boots, man. He was one of one, and he was the best. And you're right. That was a phenomenal era. That's when I really got my start too. And Randy King Jones, he was a huge part of it. By the way, the barbecue was damn delicious too.
Oh,
that was save my money, man. When I went to Jack Murphy Stadium, because you had to go get the barbecue chicken, the beans at Jack Murphy Stadium. So, RJ, you're going to be missed, man. You're one of a kind. Darren, thanks for doing this. I'm sorry Marty, I was late, and I need to wrap it up because August is taking advantage of the fact that I'm not spying on him, and he's cranking up Les Miserables in his room right now. He's 8 years old. Listens to Les Mis. Don't ask me why, but anyways,
that's good. It's a kid with some taste.
He's good.
Yes. I mean, it could be worse. He could be listening to Taylor Swift.
By the way, I'm willing to say this after all this time. You were right about the Jets. Wow. Wow. So bad. My goodness.
Doesn't matter what they do.
Wow. Terrible.
Yeah. Brutal. I mean, just embarrassing.
That being a Jets fan. Brutal.
Why would anybody do it? Doesn't even make any sense. There's no logical reason why anybody would do that.
What sports shows waste time talking about that?
Terrible. I mean, I tried to tell you all these years, but you just, sometimes you just, Marty doesn't want to listen.
No, well, what else? What else is new? All right, D. Smith,
Nothing.
thanks for doing this. And listen, that's people can find you. Wait, at D. Smith Show on the IG, on Twitter, and hopefully we'll do this a little bit more. I know you're working some things out, but listen, there's no reason why we can't get together and talk about stuff. We just need
Stuff.
Stuff to happen. Let's go.
Yeah, what stuff? What stuff do you want here?
Well, baseball. Need some stuff to happen in baseball. I'm not sure if you're watching.
You need Nolan
any
Arenado. That's what you needed here.
Dude, what was that?
I don't know.
Who was it? I think Kyle Glazer said it on Friar Territory, which is coming up on Thursday, that one of AJ Preller's the thing that's hurt him the most is his penchant for like collecting stars. Like he may have been enamored with Nolan Arenado 10 years ago, and he had a chance to go ahead and get him. Like you might get like a Nelson Cruz. Like he wanted him once upon a time. Now he's available. Let's add. That hasn't always worked well, just adding a guy who was great 10 years ago, but no longer is. That'd be a weird dynamic with Manny, I think, but who knows?
I think it'd be funny that, here it is. You have this, decade-long conversation about who the better third baseman is, and then you bring in Nolan Arenado. You're like, you're playing first. We're solving this conversation once and for all. You go over there. But, I mean, I'm not even trying to be funny here. Like, could the Padres have picked up that money?
That's what, 11 million
12
bucks?
million,
11 million. How much? What did Ryan O'Hearn sign for with Pittsburgh? That was 229. They probably couldn't pick up.
I'm not so sure that doesn't prevent them from doing something else that they might have to do.
Perhaps they were hoping to trade Jake Cronenworth by now, or Nick Pivetta, or that blockbuster deal that AC is waiting for.
Yeah, the big one still coming. The Manhattan Project. Except maybe it's the Queens Project. I don't know. I still think Pivetta. I still think with apologies to Michael King, that's a thing that could happen.
Back to one-man rotation. You think? Do you think Yu Darvish retires soon?
No.
I know what Stammen said, he's going to be around the Padres. I mean, why would he? Like, why would he?
Yeah, I mean, even though AC, your friend AC, tried to shame him in the Union Tribune, I'm like, hasn't he made enough money? This guy's making money doing advertising in Japan. Like, what?
He's not making Otani kind of money advertising in Japan. He's making money. He's got a face out. Yes, he's a huge star in Japan. But
yeah,
you don't walk
did
away.
you read that?
Why would
AC's
you
like, this guy's made $220 million. Like the implication being, like, how much more does he need? I don't know. They signed him to a contract. They should have to honor it.
It's expensive to live in California.
Yeah, especially when you got a bunch of kids.
Yeah, seven boys. One going to UCSD. We'll see what happens.
Yep. Marty,
right.
Good chatting with you. Sorry we got our signals crossed, but your phone, as usual, sucks. So
you're going to wake up to about 13 messages from me tomorrow morning and say, dude, where are you? I'm sitting here at my laptop waiting for you. Anyways, all Padres fans, SDFC fans, Aztecs fans, thanks all for joining our show tonight. Hopefully, Darren, we can get Darren to do this again soon. I'll get back on this more. There's more coming, a lot more coming. And don't forget, you can catch me with Kyle this Thursday on Friar Territory, part of the Foul Territory TV network. But for now, I'm Marty Caswell. That's Darren Smith. That's D. Smith Show, brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Darren, I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
And then just to clarify, you expect to be back in this role this upcoming season, and what is your expectation for the future, given that your contract, with your contract going forward, and what it might look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think from my standpoint, I love the Padres in San Diego. I think obviously, proud to be a part of this thing, and proud of the work that's been done over the last 10 years to get us to a spot where we're one of the more successful franchises. I think we understand there's some unfinished business that's left to be done. I look forward to having conversations with John and the group, here this off season. But again, we have a lot of work to do. So it's, we've got a good team coming back, and I think for myself and our front office, our focus is always on trying to build, a championship team year in, year out, something that's sustainable. But again, I enjoy it. I love it. I love San Diego. I enjoy the people here. Feel responsible for, for the people that are here, and really enjoy the relationships. I'm looking forward to this off season, honestly, and the future.